Welcome, welcome, welcome. So excited to welcome you to this roundtable with the Astro Priestesses for the Scorpio solar month that is starting on October 22nd, 2024. And so many amazing things are happening over the solar month that we will be looking at and talking about. But one of the things we wanted to maybe start a little bit with is looking at the Scorpio energy and how it is an energy that has been suppressed, repressed, and denied by the dominator culture that we have all been in. And so it's Scorpio is considered to be one that hides or is secretive, or, you don't really know what's going on with it. It can also be demanding and controlling. And it really, all of those things are probably more from a survival perspective that Scorpio had to become secretive to survive because it's such a powerful energy and it was one that was very much feared. So that was why it was being repressed and suppressed. And so, how are we approaching the solar month? By really welcoming this energy, the power of this energy, because it's really about magic and manifestation. It's really about aligning our will with divine will so that we can co-create a reality that is the reality that we truly want to experience, where everyone's empowered to be who they are and we're not afraid of somebody being in power or having power over us and telling us what to do, which is one of the reasons I think that Scorpio was somewhat misunderstood and not really completely. And when it's misused, of course, it's bad. It's not a good thing. Anyway, so and it can be misused like any of the archetypal energies that has its shadow side. So having power over and misusing it in a not good way has been something that has been done in the past. So we want to really celebrate the essence of Scorpio as a powerful, magical, shamanic energy that when we work with it in a healthy way, we are able to co-create the world that we really want to live in, that we are co-creating with great mystery through life force energy, through aligning our will with divine will. So I'm going to pass it along because I have a couple more things I want to say about that, but I'm just going to pass it along right now so we can then start getting into some of the details of what's happening this month.
Something that I felt very intuitively, like the last days and upcoming month, and I feel is for this Scorpio season, but it's for the whole end of the year coming into 2025, is this going deep into our power, the primordial power that is Scorpio, in order to really feel what is going on under the surface and everything that we do during these months is going to really be visible next year. So it's very important because there is going to be this transition from water and earth, that everything is happening under the surface. And we have that Pluto retrograding in Capricorn for the last time in our lives. And this Capricorn also have very ancestral roots. So Scorpio, Pluto ruling Scorpio, and then Capricorn, there is this really thousands, millions of years of history that we are bringing into our bodies because we are Earth, and that Earth has been volcanoes and has been rivers and land. Like, we don't come from nothing. Our bodies have been the oceans, and our bodies have been volcanoes and water and rain. And there is so much power when we really understand that there is no separation. Is that we are the universe, we are the land, like we are the breath of life. And I feel that that's a Scorpio. It's like when we really tap into our own power of creation, death, and rebirth. And the problem that I feel that most of us, because of the society that we are living, we are trying to control death, and we are trying to grasp into something that is completely done. Like, we are just finished. Maybe it was amazing, maybe it was awful, but it's complete. But we keep being there because it's what we know. And this is what is happening with Pluto in Capricorn, in a way, the last time is like we are trying to grasp and to be like fixed into a life that is no longer alive. So it's like we are in this cemetery trying to see that there is life there, but it's not. But within that composting energy, and I always feel Scorpio as these leaves that they come into the earth and they are decomposed for the new life. And that is the move from Scorpio to Sagittarius, like this phoenix rising from the ashes. But we need to die. Like we cannot become a phoenix. And that is an image that everyone is like, oh, so nice, a phoenix rising. Yes, but we were born, we were burned, we were come to like nothing. There is something within everyone, I think, in the world that is truly dying, and that Scorpio is the mysteries of death and rebirth. And that is such a feminine energy. And I always feel Pluto in such a dark feminine energy as well, that is reclaiming the femininity of Pluto is so important. The same as Saturn, that both of them are such a feminine energies of land and waters. And going deep in is this month, but is like bigger than the season. It's like the rest of our lives is happening in the currents of what we cannot see. And I think reclaiming that power really require us to go through the fear. Like there is no other way to really reclaim the power. Like we need to go through shame, through guilt, through fear, all these emotions that we really don't want to feel, but they are part of the initiation. And this is why Scorpio is so intense. But if we keep living in the edge and we don't really jump into the fear, then we will never be aware of the whole power that we have. And that's a lot. And that's a lot. And I feel that is also like the prelude of Mars, that I want to talk later a little bit more, of Mars opposing Pluto, that is coming like 3 times. So the masculine, the right masculine that is strong enough inside of all of us, men and women, to really hold the space for the feminine to be powerful, for the feminine to be chaotic, for the feminine, like that's the masculine, like that's here I am, and you can just go for it. Like the feminine inside of us can be truly connected with the power when the masculine is not afraid of the feminine. And I think this is a story of like, the masculine killing the dragon that we have talked in several videos. That is, we stop that. Like, stop killing your own dragon and learn how to ride your dragon. You are a dragon, and is that is the invitation, but it will take all of us. So like the whole person to really go through that initiation. And this is why it's so important to have circles like we do. And so I really invite everyone to meet in covens to really retrieve that power together, because when we do it in our own, it's really scary, and that's okay. Like it's okay to be afraid. And just for now.
Yes, to all of that. I love Scorpio season for that reason that it feels like wherever the sun is, if we tune into that principle of sun as prosperity and fulfillment, success, energy, we get to go purposefully into all of this with energy. It should feel pretty energizing to do this, even if it's hard, to not kind of have that. We don't get to do the rosy colored glasses till Sag season, but like you said, Maud, it's like we get to do the deep work, the hard part. But I don't know about you, when I'm going to confront something that I know is really important for me, even if it's like
a difficult conversation, I might have that awareness of like, oh, this is not pleasant, but there's a part of me that is kind of turning on. Maybe that's because I have Venus in Scorpio, but I'm like, part of me is turning on, but I feel like there's a soul purpose behind it. And I feel very aligned and I feel like I'm showing my power and showing up fully. And even if somebody doesn't really like what I'm saying, or it's going to lead to, oh, I'm addressing the obvious conflicts, we're going to move through it. It feels so good to just move through it. Like, so it's a little bit of the scorpion, there could be the shadow of that is the addiction to the pleasure of your own sting. Like people who like to fight. I don't like to fight, but I like to confront when I know that it's going to bring to the opposite side. Like we're going to move through. So Scorpio brings that confrontation. It brings that awareness of like, we've got it all on the table. We have choices. Are we going to just pretend it's not there? Are we going to sweep it under the rug? Are we going to hide from it? There's one of my uh, teachers, Matt Kahn, he says about Scorpio energy, he's not an astrologer, but a spiritual teacher. He talks about how it only hurts when we're hiding, which I think is such a powerful lesson. It's like when we are feeling like we have to go through things alone or we have to hide how we really feel about something when we're not confronting, we're kind of offering up our power to, something outside of me is going to fix this. Maybe it's going to be time, those feelings of like time heals all wounds. And sometimes that's true, but I think there's a lot more that we can influence that Scorpio energy invites us to. And so much of it comes from willpower. Scorpio has that strong affinity with our solar plexus. It connects to being willing to be that warrior for yourself. There's an emotional vulnerability to it to be like, I might be putting myself out on a limb here. And I might get a little bit vulnerable and a little bit uncomfortable, but we need to talk about this and everybody's going to benefit. And I've always had that experience. And maybe again, that's the Venus in Scorpio. She's like bringing harmony to the conflict. That's a big part of my work. I would never want to pretend. I'm the person I'm going to tell you if you have something in your teeth because I love you. I don't want to pretend. I don't want to just save face. I would like, tell me if something weird's going on. Tell me if my fly is down, you know? Like I don't want to be in that place of dishonesty to try to remain harmonious. I want to get really honest. And that's what I think of as Scorpio. It's like radical emotional honesty that where maybe we felt like we had to hide before, whether we're talking about historically, there was a whole book, the Malleus Maleficarum, that like gave all of the priests and the witch hunters, these are the tips and tricks of how to find the witches, go and find them. They're the women who are collecting herbs. They're the doulas. They're the midwives. They're the women who have medicine at home. Those are the witches, they're the wise women. So they went and hunted all of these women. So of course we have all of this generational trauma, even if it was from hundreds of years ago, and it could be soul lineage, it could just be resonance, like, even if that didn't specifically happen to me, that happened to somebody that I identify with. So it did happen to me in that sense. I could feel that empathy. Like there's so much of that that's swirling in the Scorpio cauldron that we're both healing from, that we're learning how to reconnect with, reclaim. So it does kind of bring on that confrontational energy, but from the perspective of healing. It's not about going in to just fight for no reason. It is going in to fight for love, going in to fight for reclamation. And so much of it, I think, comes down to what we ask for. Do we honestly say, these are my needs? Do we honestly say, this is what I'm feeling and this is how I might like support? Or I would like to just ask for something. And that is, I think, how we move out of. So I want to share a book that I kind of talk about to everybody that I know who at least has any kind of strong Scorpio energy or is working through any process of power reclamation, clear communication. This book, it's called A Woman's Guide to Power. It's by Cassia Urbaniak, Unbound. And it's all about finding out what you really want and how to ask for it. And asking from different positions, asking from this, typically yang, assertive action, which we associate with Mars. I'm going to put that ask out into the world. But there's also the yin piece of like going into myself. Like, do I really know what I want? And therefore, how clear is my ask how clear is am I making my needs? Am I just making assumptions that people know? So there's so much tied into Scorpio, but I feel like more than anything, we get this, with the sun shining the light there, we get this opportunity to explore. And then when we have that clarity, that awareness for ourselves, maybe we can also extend that to others somehow. We get to share that gift of honesty by being honest and just seeing what other doors does it open. So I have so much more I could say about this, but I'll leave it there for now, because we have a lot of juicy things to talk about for this month ahead.
Wow, this is so good. And the image, like the archetypal image I'm really seeing in my mind's eye for this season, like the Scorpio season, is it's the priestess holding the whole universe within her cloak. It's the witch sitting at her cauldron, the alchemical cauldron. Also it's the all that like creative power that is within our womb. We're all, pretty much everyone I'm talking to in some way or another, feels like they've been in that pressure cooker for a while. And as we're moving into Scorpio season, one of the big archetypal energies we're going to be working with through Scorpio season and really kind of through the rest of this year is this opposition of Mars and Pluto. As the sun ingresses Scorpio, I believe Mars is at like 26 or 27 Cancer, with Pluto at 29 Capricorn. And then they're actually going to dance together kind of for the rest of this year, because then Mars is going to go in retrograde and go back. And this opposition is going to move from Cancer and Capricorn to Aquarius and Leo. But regardless, if we kind of think of Scorpio hosted by Mars and Pluto, these two archetypal energies are in opposition right now in those like primordial waters of Cancer being Mars, and then the like that Capricorn, which is so much about those like rooted foundations, the tree roots, right? The rocks, the minerals, the crystals. And what I really feel archetypally is it kind of feels like this Scorpio season, like with Mars and Pluto opposite each other, there's this really kind of intense drive. And it can feel like this drive, this ambition, this almost like it can actually feel kind of like an obsessive energy. That there's something really powerful about going really deeply within, right? Mars, I love that you said like to connect to that primordial power, to really, I feel to connect with our power, to I just kind of sense for each of us in our own way that we'll be connecting to our power, that we can really direct forward in a much more intentional, powerful, decisive way. Like I actually kind of sense that with the Scorpio season, it's going to connect us with something that we can kind of like gather that internal power within that's maybe been splintered off, dissolved, separated, right? Because of whether it's self-limiting beliefs, all the things that like drains our energy, unconscious things. There's this invitation to have like really see truth for how it is, to see, like bring things up into awareness, right? Because that's where things are purified. And then to gather our energy in, and then we can really direct it forward in a much more decisive and intentional and powerful way. Like I'm also sensing archetypally, this is with especially Mars and Cancer there, as we're moving into Capricorn. I mean, as we're moving into Scorpio, that there's like this to connect with that, like really the protective primordial like mother kind of energy, something very, very powerful to protect our whatever it is for us, our desire, our whatever is like most sacred and pure and precious to us, to really powerfully protect that with like that fierce mama protective energy that I'm really kind of sensing into. And so I think there's going to be the with Scorpio, right? It's where things that have been hidden come into light, and that is where the purification happens. That is where the alchemy happens. And I love, Kaylin, as you said, at least before the video, Scorpio doesn't like to be hidden. That's actually not the nature of Scorpio, is for things to be hidden. It's because the magical Scorpio energy has been so suppressed. And there's something about when bringing things to the light of conscious awareness is also um, also going to bring our ability to connect to our intuition, our inner knowing. I feel like there's going to be initiations to can we really um, connect in and honor and trust those like subtle energies that we're always feeling, but so many of us have been conditioned to deny, or to dismiss our own deep instinctual inner knowing and intuition. So there's a powerful energy to like turn inward and connect. What are we feeling on the subtle realms? How is our body instinctually responding to different energies, to different situations, to different people, and to not override that, to really trust that. And like with Mars opposite Pluto, it feels like to really not necessarily in a aggressive way, but like to honor, protect, and defend our deep inner knowing.
Beautiful. I love that. The idea that we're probably more powerful than we realize. Scorpio is here to remind us about that. When we're aligned with the energy and not when we're fighting, resisting, or afraid, or any of those things. So I'm going to share a couple things. I think we're going to need, this will be our last round. We need to wrap up a little earlier today for some reason. So one of the things I want to talk about is the sun. When it's in Scorpio, of course, we always have the cross quarter, and that happens on November 7th this year when the sun reaches 15 degrees Scorpio. And it'll be with the star Zubin El Janubi. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But before it gets there, it passes the star. Now, this is the difference between the seasonal signs. This is a seasonal energy that we're talking about, the Scorpio energy, not the constellation, also known as Scorpio, because it's in the feet of the Virgin Priestess. The sun is in the feet of the priestess as we enter into Scorpio energy, and it goes by the foot of the Virgin Priestess. There's a star there called Kambalia, and Kambalia is the star of secret knowledge. And the sun is illuminating that star and transmitting directly to the earth. So we can tune into that. I'll put an article that will explain more about all of that. But the thing that I love about Kambalia is it's like Shambhala. It's the doorway or the gateway, or it's been seen as the gateway into Shambhala. That's the gateway into peace, tranquility, and happiness. And so we can tune into that energy, and it's exact on October 30th. Pretty much every year, the sun is going to be passing the star around that time. And you could say 6 days before and 6 days after that, that sun is illuminating that star and giving us a more direct transmission of that energy. And then Zubin El Janubi is in the scales of, so also known, the constellation also known as Libra. The priestess is also known as Virgo, but we're not using those names because that's too confusing to the seasonal signs. So we're in the Scorpio season with the sun, with the star Zubin El Janubi, and Zubin El Shamali is the opposite. It's a little bit different degree. Zubin El Janubi is at 15 degrees. 25 minutes of Scorpio. So the sun is exact with Zubin El Janubi at the cross quarter. And as I tuned into this a few years ago, I realized that it was opening the stargate to a new world. When the sun passes by here at the season, the between season, between the equinox and between the solstice. So we're in a between time at the exact halfway point between seasons. And it's the scales that are measuring the weight of the heart against the feather of truth, according to the story of Ma'at and Anubis weighing the heart of the dead. So there's so many things. I'll put an article to that as well because it's something we could go into a little more deeply. And the other thing I just quickly will mention, the only planetary station this month is Saturn going retrograde. It will be trine the sun on, let's see, I have it written down. And I just completely forgot what the date is. It's going retrograde on the 15th of November, but it's trine the sun.
And going direct on the 15th.
Going direct on the 15th of November. Yes, thank you. And when is it trine the sun? Oh, why can't I find it? Okay, on November 4th. Okay, so when it's trine the sun, the trine, this is something for people to know. Trines are where there's not much movement. Any planet about to go retrograde or direct will trine the sun, except for Venus and Mercury. They never trine the sun, but they will trine the sun. And it means that things are slowed down. So from the perspective of Saturn, things are slowing way down in order to go retrograde, to go direct, to have that paused before it begins its forward movement. And so this is something else that's happening at this time. So how are we slowing down to really look at how are we engaging the energy of Saturn and Pisces, creating a new world from a place of love and compassion. I guess I'm just going to leave it there because I don't want to take any more time. So I'll leave it right there.
You can feel free to always take up as much time as you need, Kaylin, because we love hearing from you. I know I sure do. I love all of that. And really, it kind of pulled in the theme of like from what you were saying, Jamie, around like gathering your power, and then you brought in the word protection so much, and then you talked about the Ganubi with peace, and I was like, oh, it's like gathering your power and protecting your peace. It feels like that is a big part of it, and it kind of brings us into that. So we gather the power, like for what? You know, what's the purpose? Like, what are we doing with it? And I think of so many reasons, right? But that there's so much trine energy. So we're working with Grand Water Trine at the end of October. So that's involving Neptune, Mars, and Mercury. So that's bringing our spiritual disillusionment and awakening with Mars taking action and all of that. Mars, Pluto, really feeling into human level desires and how does that relate with soul level desires? We're able to kind of see it from the opposite perspective a little bit. Where are we fighting our evolution, perhaps? That would be a really interesting inquiry to see, is there a place of resistance of the path that you know that you're being soulfully invited onto? That could be an offering to contemplate. And also Mercury being involved with this grand water trine, the shapeshifter, alchemist, magician, like realizing that you have all of the elements, you have all of the resources required, you know, meditating with that tarot card of the magician. He's got the pentacles, the swords, the cups, he's got, and the wands, he's got all of it. And so do you. And that grand water trine is happening October 30th. And then November 1st, we've got the new moon in Scorpio. And so it's like new moon, new me, new alchemical possibility, perhaps. And that's also happening. It's like there's a big coalition of all of these things. Like Jupiter will be sextile Chiron. That's bringing in a lot of that healing through what we're learning because Jupiter is in Gemini. And Chiron is in Aries, and there's this self-trust factor. So really trusting what you may be guided to, what information you might be guided to, and it kind of layers with that emotional quality of empathy and intuition. And just, you know, how all of these other ways of knowing. And then we also have Juno, goddess asteroid of marriage, protector of mothers and pregnant women. She's also entering Scorpio November 3rd. And I always feel like whenever Juno changes signs, we're getting this invitation to look at different kinds of agreements. It's almost like the agreements that you have in the Scorpio part of your chart. What are they? Are there agreements based on habits and behaviors? Where do you have Scorpio in your chart? Is that part of your life going through this update of empowerment? You know, it's going to look very different if it's in your seventh house of relationships or in your home or in your career or your creativity or, you know, all of the different parts of our chart are getting this invitation to update agreements. There's also that piece of deep reflection in the heart because November 4th, you mentioned that I think that was the day that Saturn is trine the sun and things kind of slow down. And then that's also when we have a moon Venus gate that's corresponding with the heart chakra. And so, and that's at 21 degrees Sagittarius. And that is, I think, especially in Venus's evening star phase, is a reclamation. This is receiving more in the heart. And so it feels like all of these different, you know, elements in the cauldron are this opportunity to really empower so that we can open the heart. Like that is kind of what I'm seeing what it is for. Like this is why we gather the power. so that we can really get stronger here, so that we can have that courage. I think that's a big theme moving on.
And something that I would like to bring forward with this, like gathering the power and then the action, is the Mars oppositions to Pluto beyond this one, because I feel that it's not only this month, like when Pluto enters Aquarius, that is going to be this month in the 19th, is going to be opposing Mars. And it's going to be really opposing. Mars and Pluto are going to be opposing each other by a few degrees difference from now until spring of next year. So it's a really long transition that we start this month, and it's quite intense. We can see it in the outside, that is not to steer fear, but we can see it in wars and things like that. The Pluto, Mars dance is very connected with the different worlds, especially the one in Israel. So just to be aware in the dates, so we know if there is rage within our lives coming up, to liberate, like to really move it through the body and then let it out. Because the problem with anger is when it's either repressed, because then when it comes up, it doesn't come up in the nicest way. So the more we do this work of, like, when we are angry, instead of repressing, holding the space for the anger to be unleashed in a container, is much better, because it's not against someone. And that is a possibility that we are going to experience in different kind of forms, wherever we have Capricorn, Cancer at the end, and then Leo, Aquarius, beginning of these signs. And the dates are like, the first opposition will be November the 3rd. I have European dates, so maybe for the States change a little bit, but the first one is November the 3rd, and is going to be Capricorn, Cancer at the end. Then we have the second one in January the 3rd, and the last one is April 27th. So we are talking about a really strong time, that wherever we have these degrees, is not like the age of Aquarius, and wherever new era we are building, it depends of each one of us. It's not something that is going to come from the sky. It's like, what is it that we are dreaming? What is it that we are actioning? And I think for this, and it's something that I am emphasizing a lot in everything that I hold, is like, taking action is very important at this time. So nurturing ourselves, retrieving all this power, collecting all this power, and really focusing the energy into what is it that we really care about, and to really stop the war as a narrative for human beings. I think this is something that is quite important, because Pluto and Mars don't have to be war. We are doing it. It's like they don't have to. It's power and it's action. So it's really reflecting where human beings as a collective is focusing the power and the action. So if we focus power and action in another direction, we're going to do something different. And the more people we do that, the more we're going to change the collective. So it's like, and of course, when we hear these things, we can think, but what I can do? Well, if you are in war with your mother, move that through you. And doing that, you're moving the collective. So if you are in war with a spouse, with an ex, with your children, with your job, with wherever in your life there is a conflict that feels really powerful, the more we move the energy within ourselves, the more we are really moving that energy also in the collective. And that is going to be reflected in each life in a different way. And I would like to invite everyone, I will leave a link for a breath work that I did that is called Primordial Power. And it's kind of like feeling into being the energy of power within us. What I was saying before of like, we are the universe. It's not that we are co-creating with the universe. That's something that it came to me this last month. It's like, I'm not even co-creating with the universe. I am the universe. But this is like a state of consciousness that is very difficult to be the whole time, right? Like we sometimes like we come back to the human being and then it's like, okay, I'm also Mar and I have my own struggles, but I am the universe. I am Mar. And we're both at the same time. So I think the more we leave that victim consciousness behind, the more we retrieve the power of our own personal story, any trauma, any wound, understanding that is also part of who we are, and make peace within ourselves. The more we do that, that is a very brave work. The more we are doing that for the collective. And it's time. I really feel that it's time to bring a different kind of humanity into the world. And this Mars, Pluto, like we're going to see, like we just see, okay, this is what we're dreaming at the moment collectively. So I'm going to dream something different within my life, and I'm going to take action within my life towards a different kind of future for everyone.
When I just wanted to speak to on the November 15th full moon, the moon is 1 degree from Uranus. It's a Taurus full moon. And so that brings an energy of the unexpected, out of the blue, very fast-moving change in our life. And I'm sensing some tie back to the Taurus lunar eclipse we had in November of 2022 that was on the same degree as Uranus. And so there might be some theme kind of rippling from then. And so I know that we actually need to conclude the round table. And so I just wanted to bring illumination to that full moon with Uranus and feeling intuitively just how important it is that we are grounded within ourselves, as Uranus can bring that fast moving change. And there's this energy of the Scorpio season, like having our one foot in both worlds. And I actually even feel like I can see that or feel it with a Mars-Pluto opposition. And I love, Nura, you spoke to the midwife. There's an invitation here to kind of have one foot in both worlds, to be so deeply connected to our inner power so we can midwife a new reality, a new world for ourselves and the collective.
Yay. Thank you, everybody. Oh my gosh, so good. And You Are the Universe. I'm going to put a song that says You Are the Universe in the show notes. Love that. Okay, bye.